Bob Arum, Al Haymon feud continues. Leonard Ellerby says Bob Arum has lost his mind. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chat channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. If you guys would like to go to the Box Fan Expo, purchase tickets from me. I am an affiliate. Link in the description. Also, ESPN Plus. I'm an affiliate with them. If you want to do the 7-day free trial, after that, it's $4.99 a month, and you can get all the ESPN Plus content. So, shout out to Yahoo Sports, link in the description. Kevin Iole had a column. It says Bob Arum versus Al Haymon feud continues to be boxing's black eye as pair delay another iconic fight. Obviously, Crawford just fought against Khan, and it ended kind of funky, anticlimactic, and post-fight Arum was like screaming on Al Haymon, saying he's the devil or whatever. He's the cause and the reason why the fight won't happen. He did us all on pay-per-view in front of the pay-per-view camera crew on the ESPN pay-per-view after an anticlimactic fight. The article says why Arum Haymon won't agree on Spence Crawford. Haymon, PBC, has most of the best welterweights under contract, and there are rumors that Spence may look to unify with Sean Porter in the summer, and Pacquiao, now with PBC, may face Keith Thurman in the battle of the WBA champions. Those would be good fights, but none of them would be the cachet and the interest of Crawford-Spence, which I should repeat isn't going to happen because of the nauseating way the sport is run. Arum has never been a diplomat and has gotten away far too often with talking publicly first and then thinking later. From Kevin Iole. He is one of the most emotional and combustible people you'd ever want to meet, and at age 37, what little patience and restraint he once had is all but gone for someone who is arguably the greatest promoter in boxing history. Quote, "Listen, we want to fight Errol Spence," Arum said. "Terrence Crawford wants it. I think Errol Spence wants it. There's one guy who's stopping it. That's Al Haymon. Every boxing fan should refuse to patronize Haymon's fights until he agrees that Spence fights Crawford." That, of course, was not the best way to open negotiations for the fight. It's not like Haymon is blameless in all of this. He has no public accountability. He doesn't speak to the media and discourages anyone working for him to say anything of substance. He gets to avoid the hard questions that Arum and top-ranked President Todd DeBuff face regularly in these situations. Haymon isn't a promoter, at least by name, and he hires promoters to put on his fights a show-by-show basis. Now, Kevin Iole wrote this. I disagree 1000%. Why do people care if Al Haymon is running in front of the cameras and saying this, that, and the third? Who cares? Who cares? As long as business is getting done, the right people the tasks are delegated to them. Why do you care to hear Al Haymon? If anything, this is better because these other promoters, Oscar De La Hoya, Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, of course, all the promoters that frequently do interviews and stuff, they've been caught in contradictions and lies and different things like that, and it only makes it worse. So why do you want another person like that? You know what I'm saying? Where people are like, it just doesn't make sense. Why is business is running, the money's flowing, the fighters are happy? Why do writers and boxing media and stuff care about PBC not answering questions? This is crazy. But let me continue. Leonard Ellerby of Mayweather Promotions, he says Arum has lost his mind. It says one of the promoters Haymon uses is Leonard Ellerby, CEO of Mayweather Promotions. Yahoo Sports reached out to Ellerby, who was in Carson, California, promoting Danny Garcia's 7-round stoppage over Adrian Granados, formerly known as the StubHub Center, to get a take on Arum's comments. Ellerby, who on Thursday during an interview with Yahoo Sports said he didn't believe a Crawford-Spence fight was coming anytime soon, was angered when Arum's comments about Haymon during the ESPN broadcast. Ellerby says, by making those comments that he made, I guarantee you that's not going to help him in any kind of way, Ellerby told Yahoo Sports on Saturday. I guarantee you that. You can't sit around, and I want you to quote me on this. but you can't sit around and talk shit and somebody about somebody, but you can't sit around and talk shit about somebody and then right away go try to make a deal with them. He's completely lost his mind. I think he's lost his mind. Crawford-Spence is a special fight in which everything is coming together that could make one of the iconic matches, etc. That's what Leonard Ellerby. You know, you guys can go read the rest of this article. I want to talk about that. What was stated is 100% true. Arum is combustible. He says whatever's on his mind. That's cool. But he's saying a lot of crazy things, and I think he's in a pinch. Maybe he owes ESPN like a top fight. I don't know. It's not my business. I don't own or run Top Rank. But it looks like pressure is mounting some kind of way. Maybe he was just upset how Amir Khan quit, and that was his $70 pay-per-view, and it ended in an anticlimactic way. I'm not sure. But some of the stuff Arum is saying, I agree 100% with Leonard Ellerby. And the funny thing is, I agreed with Ellerby before Ellerby even was quoted saying this. I told you this. How do you expect to talk shit to somebody? Say this and this. Al Haymon's a ghost. Al Haymon's a monster. He's the cancer of boxing. Nobody knows him. He's hard to get in touch with. He's preventing the fight. He doesn't want to see the fight. There's another interview that was captured by Los Angeles Times and it was quoted, and I did a video about that. Bob Arum accuses Al Haymon of telling Errol Spence not to make the Crawford fight, to not work with a white promoter, which is ludicrous because Ludabella, Shelley Finkel, and Tom Brown and Brittany Goosen, all these people are either managers for fighters or non-black people, right? White people that work for Al Haymon and with him directly on a routine basis. So where is this coming from? He's convincing. And how would you know what he's telling Errol Spence behind closed doors? None of this makes sense. I agree with Leonard Ellerby. This sounds crazy and it sounds trash that you would expect somebody to want to work with you after on your own pay-per-view, you're, berating them and slandering them, and fuck their plans. What you want supersede. That's not how the world works. We knew about Spence and Porter unification before Crawford even stepped foot in the ring with Amir Khan. So irregardless of, Crawford Khan outcome or whatever, that was looking like the fight that they were already negotiating. So why would Al Haymon, because Crawford, he's shining, why would he just say, stop that? Even though this is a unification with a guy who has more fights with credible names, and it's an in-house fight, easy to make. Both fighters want it. Both fighters are down for the money. We don't have to split the pot. We can settle all this in-house with one network. The network we decide, either Showtime or Fox. Stop this unification to make the Crawford fight. Bob Arum to me is panicking because he knows he has no one to feed Crawford that generates interest, period. Unless he uses fighters from other people's stable, Eddie Hearn and Kell Brook, and that's Errol Spence's leftovers. It's an okay fight, but Errol Spence already beat him. So meanwhile, Errol Spence continues to grow and mount in popularity. He can rack up belts and straps. This is what Arum fears, in my opinion. He fears that Spence is just going to become a global and bigger star, and they can build him. Just like Arum wants to build, Lomachenko or Shakur or Mick Connellan into stars. They have the power and the capacity and the audience with Fox and Showtime to do this. He doesn't like that. And now, because he's not pulling the strings and he has nowhere for Crawford to really go in-house, he's mad and he's throwing a temper tantrum. That's what it feels like, So Leonard Ellerby, I said the same thing he's saying, and I said it before him. He's right. How can you talk bad about someone and expect them to want to work with you? If a YouTube channel is putting my name on the title, slandering my character, saying ego ain't this, ego ain't that, and then they come to me for advice on how to build their YouTube channel or to collaborate, what do you think I'm gonna say? If your sibling, somebody who's actually family, you just had a huge blowout and verbal argument with them, and then they say, hey, let me use your car to go to the store, what are you gonna tell them? You gotta take a hike. I'm pissed off right now. So with whatever Arum's doing, I think he knows the Spence fight is not next, especially with the rumors of the Sean Porter unification. So he's just trying to plant the seeds right now that this is all Al Haymon's fault, and we tried to get Crawford in with the number one heavyweight, but we can't. But guess what? The world doesn't work like that. The world is about what you can do and producing results. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about what you wanted and they care about the end result. Can you produce? That's, the cold hard facts. And Leonard Ellerby said this before. They can't put Lomachenko, or choose not to, for Lomachenko specifically, put him in big marketable fights. They didn't put him in with Mikey Garcia. They got in the way of Wilder versus Fury rematch when they were agreeing 50-50, and the ESPN and Top Rank jumped in the middle, created a distance. Now you want me to believe that Crawford and Spence is not happening because of Al Haymon. It's unbelievable. Because why would you, if you want to work with Al Haymon so bad to make the best versus the best, then why would you create separation when Tyson Fury and Wilder just fought in December and we're headed towards a rematch approved by the WBC, approved by the fans? Everybody was expecting it, and we were left on a cliffhanger with what happened in the 12th round. Now you're putting Tyson Fury in the ring with Tom Schwartz. None of this makes sense. If anyone with the brain intelligently breaks this down, they'll see it makes no sense. And to me, it shows that Bob Arum is losing his grip and his power grip, and he doesn't know how to respond to it. And to me, this isn't the proper way to respond. If you want to work with somebody, how is it that Bob Arum, you can't just say what you want, you can't just say what you want and not expect any kind of consequences. How is it that, and that's what some people, that's a pompous attitude, to think you could just say whatever you want. But then when a person like me says my opinion, then I don't want to give you a credential, or, Leonard Ellerby this and this, and you could just scream on Al Haymon, but nobody can react to what you said. Anyway, Keith Thurman was calling out Pacquiao via Twitter. He was like, yeah, I'll fight him, boy, and Twitter fingers. Bob Arum did an interview, said, that's no way to make a fight. You tell Keith Thurman that's not how business is conducted. You gotta reach out and make a fight. So you admonish Keith Thurman for doing what fighters do, which is a direct thing to release their, vent and say what they like. Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson right now are kind of going back and forth on Twitter. But Keith Thurman said his piece on his social media page. You admonished him and said that's not the right way fights are made. But on your pay-per-view, which ended in a horrific way, and people paid $70 with it because Amir Khan quit, after you badmouthed Mikey Garcia saying he wasted people's money, and then Khan actually quit, Mikey Garcia went the distance 2 divisions up with Errol Spence, who's a killer, that wasn't a good look for your pay-per-view. It's not Crawford's fault, it's not Arum's fault, but you chose Khan, and he ended up being the person that quit, and that was your main event. So in the midst of all of this, you start screaming on Al Haymon saying he doesn't want to fight and don't buy his fights. That's not going to work. If I don't care if DAZN, Canelo Jacobs is a good fight. People aren't going to listen because Arum said don't watch DAZN, or because he said don't watch PBC. If Keith Thurman fights Pacquiao, count me in because I'm curious about the fight. If Errol Spence fights Sean Porter, count me in because I'm curious. If Gary Russell fights Leo Santa Cruz, or Leo Santa Cruz versus Tank Davis, or Gary Russell versus Tank Davis, I'm not going to listen because Arum said don't patronize their fights and don't support, So it just looks like you're hating, and it makes it like you're losing power and losing touch. It's a kind of a weak move, to be honest, to just be out there like that on your pay-per-view, bringing up the next promoter. Bottom line is, what can you get done for Terrence Crawford? His whole career and everything shouldn't be contingent just on one guy. What about Danny Garcia Crawford? Why is it Terrence Crawford or bust? These things don't make sense to me. Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia, I would much rather see those guys in there with Crawford as opposed to Mean Machine or, Kerman Lajaraga. I don't want to see some random fight like that. So Arum is creating a gap more than he's like bridging and mending that gap, by talking bad about Haymon. Again, like Leonard Ellerby is saying, and I've been saying, how can you expect to really do business with somebody who's calling you the cancer of boxing and that's not any way to open the floodgate to negotiations. And then making this speculation that's unwarranted. He doesn't want to work with white promoter, but Al Haymon worked with Eddie Hearn to bring Triple G versus Dominic Wade to HBO. Al Haymon and his fighter Danny Jacobs at the time, who he still advises, fought Triple G on HBO pay-per-view. That wasn't Premier Boxing Champs card. And Eddie Hearn is white. And Danny Jacobs is about to fight Canelo, and he's still advised by Al Haymon, and he's teamed up with Eddie Hearn, fighting on the Golden Boy card with Eddie Hearn, you know. So I thought he don't want to work with white promoters. Why does he have Lou DiBella? You know, why does he have Brittany Goosen, Tom Brown? It sounds senile to say this unless you have some secret evidence that you know of this happening, that he's telling Errol Spence to not work with the white promoter. You know, what about when Daniel Jacobs fought against Triple G? That was Tom Loeffler. You know, and then I guess the Amir Khan, that he worked with De La Hoya and them. You know, when Charles Martin and Dominic Breazeale fought AJ, he worked with Eddie Hearn. So, you know, either way, he's worked with different people, and those weren't all like mandatory fights that he had to make. AJ wasn't Charles Martin's mandatory, still made the fight with Eddie Hearn. Dominic Breazeale wasn't AJ's mandatory, still made the fight. You know, Jacobs had a WBA regular and Golovkin had the WBA super. That wasn't a mandatory. You know, they just consolidated the belts. So, you know, if anything, Bob Arum saying this stuff is actually doing Terrence Crawford a disservice, because it's putting him farther away from any PBC guys. You know, I know if I had a stable and someone's talking crazy about me, I'm gonna let them drown. That's just me, who I am. So, yeah, blaming everything. I mean, look at the comments. By making those comments he made, I guarantee you that's not going to help him in any kind of way. I guarantee you that. You can't sit around, and I want you to quote me on this, but you can't sit around and talk shit about somebody and then right away go try to make a deal with them. He's completely lost his mind. I think he's lost his mind, you know? And how did Mayweather Pacquiao get done? If Al Haymon won't work with white promoters, who put that on? White Jewish man, Bob Arum and Al Haymon. They put that fight on. You know, how did Terrence Crawford fight Felix Diaz and John Molina Jr.? Terrence Crawford fought both of them and they're Al Haymon advice. So nobody believes what Arum is saying right here. And like I said, the thing that makes it more unbelievable is you have in-house fights and you're not even making them. So if you want the best versus best, why'd you get in the way of Wilder Fury? You have in-house fights like Alexander Vodstik from the Ukraine and Beterbiev from Russia. That's a good fight. 2 champions, light heavyweight. Let's see it. Why don't you put that on? Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson. You have both of them. Mick Connellan, Shakur Stevenson. You have both of them. None of these fights are happening. Teofimo versus Lomachenko. Not happening. Teofimo said he tried to get in the ring on Lomachenko's fight, his win after Corolla. He said Arum and Team Lomachenko told him to get down. Why is that not happening? So it's not just like an Al Haymon thing, especially when you have lucrative fights that the fans would like to see all in-house and you're not pulling the trigger on them. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego. Sign on. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.